type component library. And then around 2002, Carl and I all worked together and architected Sun Java Studio Creator, which is a Java Server Basics tool. Project Ray was the code name. And Dick was our #1 beta tester. This is where we met Dick.
Is that #1 today?
Yeah.
Someone playing in the backside.
Yes. He was a yes. All right. And then circa 2005, Dick started the first Java podcast, joined the first Java podcast, JavaCast, which unfortunately died after about 4 episodes.
Went out in a flash of fire.
Yes. Yeah. And then in 2005, Dick, Tor, and Carl started the Java Posse. Dick was at New Energy Siemens at the time. Tor was at Sun. I was also at Sun. And Carl was at Google. We didn't want to have too much Sun in the podcast. So I left with Apple so that I could join the Java Posse episode.
What a sacrifice. The podcast.
Just so I could join
somebody had to do.
And so now you're watching episode 119, so we're going strong, and we intend to keep doing this roughly once a week or more. We're pretty close to each other now, so we do a lot of in-person things, and sometimes drink too much.
Yeah. Never too much.
Right. Never way too much.
Yeah.
So we want to do a couple polls, if you want to...
Okay, actually, you know, I'm already starting living. So, first of all, does anybody not know what a podcast is? Okay, that's very hard, mate. Okay, I guess we don't have to go there. So, how many of you listen to them? Woohoo! Okay, pretty good. How many of you listen to ours? Okay, pretty good. How many of you listen to all of ours?
Wow, that is pretty good. All the guys in the front row.
You guys are pretty hardcore. And how many of you came here just to see us?
Wow, we get a call.
So we want to jump in and do some actual news. If you haven't heard of the Java Posse, but apparently most of you have, we just go through once a week, we just read off the news and we talk about it. We've all been in the industry for a long time, so sometimes we have fruitful conversations, sometimes aggressive battles.
Sometimes we rehash the same things over and over again.
Yes, this is true. I tend to do that. So we have a couple news stories that might as well go ahead and cover. The first one.
Okay, we mentioned this a couple of episodes ago. The Java QuickTime security flaw has now been fixed. So this was reported in the popular media as a serious flaw in Java. Everybody was saying you got to turn Java off. Actually turned out to be as a result of the QuickTime for Java library. Apple has released a new version of QuickTime 7.1.6 that closes the hole. Now that the details are out, once they released the patch, they released the details of what was causing the problem. And as we suspected, it was to do with the unmanaged or native code in the library. Basically, once you're through the other side of the native code wormhole, there's a little to control what can be done with the Java security model. So once you're through there, you've got free reign of everything. And it looks like the culprit was actually the QuickTime media layer, which was code carried over from the classic Mac OS, and which did not have strong memory protection and other modern features. So specifically, this was a buffer overflow exploit used to call an image compression call, and the result allowed memory to be arbitrarily overwritten. So all of these details were kindly provided by Chris Adams, and I don't know if Chris is here, but oh yeah, hey. Thanks Chris for doing all that work for us. He's got a special interest in QuickTime for Java.
And we've discussed Jay and I a lot in the past, and I think this is a prime example of why Jay and I have some downsides. Whenever you do it, you're going to probably see security issues a lot more likely than if you were doing pure Java.
I agree, but I still think that sometimes you've got to take those risks. I think if you want good native integration, you've got to take the risks.
Native integration is much better if it's in a closed environment. Like if you're doing something in your own system, in your own deployment, and you have control over both sides. But if you're shipping out a library to be used by the masses, and it's not open source, it's just dangerous.
I want the JDK team to do the native integration. I want them to be calling into the OS, and the rest of us just to be calling those routines. I think that's just much safer.
Well, there's not enough of this.
It's the wrong.
Actually, interesting, this was a problem on both Mac and Windows because the code that was the problem in QuickTime media layer was in both. So this was anywhere that QuickTime was running.
Or the C code as well.
Yeah.
Anybody here on the native part of the JVM team? Yeah, see, there's not enough. Just overflows. It happens from this hole because there's so many. All right, fair enough.
Do you want to take that one?
No, go ahead.
Okay. No, you make me do all that. Okay. JRuby now has some competition. I thought you would be all right with this one. Microsoft has announced Iron Ruby. The name is in line with Iron Python. A little bit of history. The guy who originally started Python started, I think, Iron Python or .NET Python to prove how bad it was to write stuff in CLR, and actually ended up really liking it. Basically, total switching teams went over to the CLR. Yeah, and now they're doing the JRuby. And unfortunately, when he did that, Python kind of, well, it's not dead yet, but it's not looking so wonderful right now. I think it's picking up a little bit. Fortunately, in this case, we've still got Thomas Nutter and alumni. They're still going to be working on the JRuby side of things. So we're not losing anything, but there will be competition. So, also in the news, Microsoft, guys have probably heard, announced Silverlight, which is a Flash competitor that will run cross-platform and bring a browser-based and slightly more limited form of the CLR across platforms. Now,
When Microsoft says cross-platform, what do they mean?
I think Windows
All versions of
and
Windows.
They still forget those NT.
I think Steve Ballmer still can't bring himself to say the L word yet in public. He's unable.
You can go. Everybody see that monkey episode where Ballmer started jumping around on the stage, pumping his fist, saying, you know, developers. I was making crack. That's. You gotta get James to do that.
Yeah, allegedly. You should probably throw an allegedly in there or something.
Oh, allegedly. Yes, allegedly crack.
And this kind of dovetails nicely into the rumours that are around right now about Project Flare, which is supposedly something secret that Sun's working on that's a competitor to Flash, Flex, and Silverlight. So I guess we'll see what it is. My guess, and I guess we're a little early for the predictions, but I'm going to go out on this one anyway. I think it's going to have something to do with F3 and possibly the work that Ethan Nicholas is doing on squashing down the JRB stuff.
Say that. We have a whole predictions section.
Top 10s, predictions.
We have a whole program, which is very unlike us. We sat down in the back of the room during the last session and said, maybe we should have slides. We went down and laid some things out. Cole had some good ideas. We had some top 10 lists and all this stuff. That's stuff to talk about. Okay. What is?
I think that's it.
That's it?
Oh yeah, John is coming very soon. You should get ready.
We couldn't leave that out of the news tonight.
Very important. So predictions. We sat down in our Google Docs and spreadsheet, we used that quite a bit, and wrote down predictions that we think might happen this year. And I think this year the first ones are in.
Okay, well, the one I'm going to go for is, and I think I'm pretty safe on this one, I have to say. This particular one I can take a big risk on. I think it's going to be a big year for mobile devices, phones in particular, and the internet communicators. Isn't that what Steve calls them? Yeah, the internet communicators. Obviously, Sun has just acquired the Savage IP. I'll be interested to see what they do with that. I'm thinking they're probably going to open source it.
The interesting part about that phone was that it ran Java SE on the right.
Yeah.
And someone pointed out to me that if you look at stuff, if you swap the S and the J, you get Java SE. That's interesting, isn't it?
Are you one of those guys that studies the patterns in the Bible before the lines?
We need to do more crosswords, I guess.
Actually, quick question. How many people bought a Savage phone at the last JAVAWUG?
Do you like it still?
Okay. How many of you still have it carried around and used every day?
I still have mine. It still works, but I still carry it around.
You gotta see, Carl has this drawer full of devices. Cell phones and
It's a sad drawer of devices that no longer work. Well, they work, but I don't.
You can start your own museum of old devices sometime.
I'll say your history museum.
So I think a lot of this will come from the Apple phone announcement. I think that's going to have the effect of providing a nucleus for crystallization of a whole new generation.
And it's driving a whole new way of looking at the interaction between the user and the services.
Yeah. And
They want competition in that
And ARM came out and said that their next generation phone is going to be Linux-based. That's sort of semi-official now, I think. Hopefully we'll actually get a decent Java ME monitoring.
Yeah, well, not just ME. I think they need
Java
Java
SE,
SE.
yeah.
You need Java SE and all of them.
Have you seen Java?
Somebody agrees.
Yeah. I've suffered with the IBM for a long time now. It needs some TLC. Okay, well, desktop Java.
Yeah, we think desktop Java is going to be big this year. We hear little birds told us, or a couple of little birds told us there's going to be a lot of stuff around desktop Java to try to push it, get it researched, get it re-bootstrapped and moving. And to follow on to that is we believe applets are no longer going to suck. How many people think applets suck? We believe that something's going to happen, and they won't suck. And Carl at this point crossover with desktop, but maybe applets and desktop.
Right. I mean, if you're working in the browser, you're using applets for your application on the client side, and you want to move over to the desktop, it needs to be seamless. It needs to be applets start and applets, and you all have to just be magic.
And that's where applets can help, right? Because all the AVAX applications are not offline. And they are with some really affordable apps, where applets can really give you that process experience.
What website is it that has an invisible app, like a one-by-one pixel thing that has the database? Well, no, the Derby data for the JavaDB database embedded in it.
Yeah.
So they do a bunch of briefcase and all this stuff. We were just talking about that. What
Yeah.
website was it?
Anything else?
Show notes for what they do.
Wait, somebody just said it. Oh, Sun's website. Wish somebody does that. I don't think that's what we were talking about, but that's good to know. That they're going to do as well.
Yeah. There's a little known rule about applets that they have to have at least some on-screen presence, even if it's only one reason.
Well, you just have to get to launch the container. The next one here, I believe Dave was jumping up and down about this. Let's hear about it, Dave.
Oh, multimedia improvements. Yeah, I know Chris will be backing me up on this one. Yeah, there he is. Hello, Chris. So, Java's got a lot right as our warm-up and Rich and jumping into the same area, right? Sorry, I couldn't resist that. But yeah, I think multimedia and desktop and applets, these are areas that it needs attention. And, the rest of us are going to be good. We can't take our eyes off it, but let's focus on stuff that's in the way.
That has a service side nailed, so you relax a little bit.
It's done.
It's not relaxing too much.
Well, let's don't relax too much, but let's not stress about the server side.
Yeah, multimedia improvements. Let's have recording as well as playback. Let's have real-time
User-provided content, right? We need to record all this user-provided content.
It's record audio, so yeah, I guess
It is done.
All right, so more predictions. So I noted in episode 117, I think that James is going to pull something crazy this year. I think a heritage that's going to come in and land on the main stage, and that Duke's going to get out and do a fun game. That's my prediction. We'll see. Sometimes I'm a little off, but I think that's what's going to happen this year.
Correct.
There's going to be geeks swarming the city.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I tend to nail them. So Ramon Geek. Ramon Is Ramon here? I guess he's lost.
It's already happened.
This would have been a prediction if you just said unbelievable. That's why this is
All right. So let's move on to top 10.
We'll make sure.
So we have several. We're going to start with the top 10 missing Java features according to the Java Posse. This is not necessarily the views in everyone in the world, but
incidentally,
we don't care.
I'd like to light this up a little bit. So we got an email last week that said that we don't say enough controversial stuff. So possibly today is going to change.
Make a quote. Change the teaching episodes.
Yeah. All right. Let's see what kind of email we generate. Okay, so the missing link. Anybody familiar with the .NET link stuff? Yeah. Sort of dynamic searching of any kind of data in memory from any source. Pretty impressive stuff. It's shame safe.
Do you want to basically summarize it?
That's pretty much it. You just data in memory, data coming from any source, you can query it like a database, fill types.
I heard it described as basically SQL. Right? They have this query language to get the select from where across language at the API boundary.
Right, right. And you know, we've got some technologies that have headed towards that, but we haven't done anything to answer it just yet.
Okay.
Oh, that's me again, I guess.
How many do it first?
Yeah, good cross-platform multimedia solution that includes recording and playback. Please.
In there.
And more.
Yes. Dick believes it's going to happen this Java month. So
Yeah, well, I don't think I'm an optimist. Device support kind of feeds into this USB. USB is part of the
Java on the desktop.
And what happened to Firewire? And nobody talks about Firewire.
Firewire, that works good.
Yeah.
I think Apple are shipping Firewire into their iPods. I think that was let it be nailed in the coffin, and certainly something to be called. Right? If John's the official Apple.
If John's going to do video, it's going to be Firewire.
Yeah, all video games do Firewire.
I do wear the Mark turtleneck, but I'm not Steve Jobs.
Can you talk about the IRAC?
I think I have this one, but I want the proper HTML rendering. So we do have HTML in Swing, but it's pretty dated. It does, I think, HTML 3.2. It does
Hot Java 1.0.
Yeah, I run that.
Actually, it wasn't. Was it new? A new implementation? That's
2.0.
Yeah, so we need something that does really good HTML rendering, browser quality, CSS, to all that stuff. I think we need it now.
That would be good.
By tomorrow.
Well, if we say top 10, just please nobody keep count.
You don't take the base 1.0. It's not a base yet.
This is my hot button. If you listen to the podcast, you know this. We need language level properties to damn it. I think we need a real component model for the desktop. So when I say real component model, I mean a component model that allows any third-party developer to build a component and package it and ship it and let other people buy it. And it plays along very well with all the other components you have in your solution.
This is what Big does.
Yeah.
If you guys can think of anything, it's that.
So the same story for the web. We need a component model for the web. You should be able to buy off-the-shelf components, sort of like JavaScript interfaces, but more of a component model. We do the same thing for mobile, and then most importantly, we need one component model for all of the above. Something Java is missing very badly, and I think missed the boat on. But I talk about that so much, I'm sick of it myself.
Okay, true generics. So what I'm thinking of here is I don't really want raw types. I basically want it to, is it refine the types? Is that what
Refine.
Yes, I want to refine types.
You want the erasure.
Listen, actually, yeah, I want the erasure to be erased.
Erasing the erasure. Well, that was a good thing. Erasure.
Another thing I want is regular expression literals. So the way we do strings in Java, luckily, is you don't call the new string constructor and pass something in. You actually use quotes, and you put the string there. With regular expressions, you have to put them inside of strings, which means you have to do the backslash to escape everything. It gets really tricky to read these regular expressions. If we have regular expression literals, you can basically just type the regular expression. And the way it is in Ruby, they use the slash characters, just like in DI, in the middle, the beginning, and the end. Something like that in Ruby.
Is it R or is it quote?
I think they should just do quote, double quote mark, single quote mark, double quote mark, single quote mark, double quote mark, single quote mark. You're straight.
So I want to do a pretty good straw poll on this one. Who loves regular expressions? Okay? Who hates regular expressions? Who both loves and hates regular expressions? Okay.
I think this would help. Another cool thing I would like is multiple return values. So I often find myself wanting to return more than one thing. What I have to do then is create a new object. And I'd like Java to do that packing and unpacking for me. And in fact, if we have a parallel assignment, so you can do, for example, x comma y equals 1 comma 2.
Yeah.
That would work nicely in concert with this. We can make a method call and have x comma y equals, some method call and return two values and assign them in order to your parameters. I think that would help us implicitly.
Yeah, that's what Python does. Everything returns exactly one thing, but that can be achievable
think this is very parallel to what we did in Java 5 with the bar args, where you no longer, where you can sort of just have a little list and you can figure it out. I think this would be another step in that direction. Closures. Yes!
Ladies and gentlemen. Who's freaked out? Who's freaked out?
Deal back there.
News
I
guy.
have to say,
That's too far, Neil.
I'm not back and forth on this. But I think overall, if we do not only closures for the language, we also retrofit the platform to be closure friendly, so all the collections can operate with closures, I think this would be a really nice enhancement. And I think this will tie into some of the stuff we're talking about later about what we want to rip out of Java. Yeah. Nullable. So this is just an example of one annotation I want. There luckily are a couple of JSRs to address this, but I want more annotations. One of my favorite annotations to use today is the override annotation. But I just the other day had this really weird bug on, it happens only on Linux running the GTK look and feel. It's because in one of my JPanel classes, I have made a method called getName. It turns out there is a getName in the superclass of JPanel that I was accidentally overriding, and on Linux in GTK, it ends up getting called in a different sequence than it does on other platforms. I had never intended that method to be overriding something in superclass. And I think it'd be kind of nice if I could use annotations so that whenever I write a new method, I'm just saying not override.
Property name. Oh, sorry.
Right. So there's a bunch of annotations we're proposing. There's already a prototype that came out. I just saw an email about that. I should have been in the quick news item since this was a regular podcast. The JSR 308 has a prototype with a bunch of annotations and a plugin for the compiler, so you can actually start putting this in your code. It looks really nice.
Type inference. So when you're using generic types and you've got the variable you're declaring on the left and you've got the thing you're doing on the right and you've got all these big generics and it's going off at the end of your restricted 80-column format, it's a big hassle. So type inference is where the compiler figures out what the type should be on the left.
You don't use Emacs and it doesn't work.
But I think the principle is you don't want to
It does, but it still looks ugly.
you don't want to repeat yourself, right? Yeah. If you never want to change this, you have to go and say multiple places.
Yeah, but you're repeating yourself even if the ID is doing it fully. It's not doing it at all.
It was a needless step for the George step.
Invoke dynamic. Now, this is also on the table, but this is going to let scripting languages and dynamic typing in general work better on the end. So I think that's really important. Luckily, it's being addressed. And modules and super packages is another one of those things that I think, luckily, are definitely being planned. And just from having been working on NetBeans, where we have this module system, doing applications that way, where you can really just declare which version of the software you're doing here, and interface with other libraries that are versioned, it's really, really nice. It's, I think, one of the best arguments for doing a rich client platform application today over just a vanilla looking application. And I think once we get this into the platforms, you can start relying on Xerxes 1.1 specifically as opposed to whatever's in the class path. Right. That would be really nice.
I think it also helps manage the delivery of the base platform itself, as you said. So the JRE doesn't have to ship with every possible feature that every kind of application is going to want. It's just the basic JRE that small, and then applications get declared what else they need, and that can be delivered.
You can split the runtime jar into tons of small little fragments, and so if you never call for it, you're never going to load it. Right. Okay, Java 3.
And how do you do one Java 3?
Okay, so let me explain what I mean here. I'm ready to cut the cord compatibility once. I think to load all these APIs that I don't care about, like hash table and vector and memory, all this stuff. I would like to, basically, I don't think we can really pervert the language we have today. We can't keep changing it. So why don't we have another language that can process the same language, just with a different flag, maybe a different compiler? I mean, there already are examples of this. We have Ruby, we have JRuby. But I also really like the flavor of Java that we have. I just want to clean it up.
So we can not have a new language, but maybe a way of dividing up and cleaning up the libraries.
Well, libraries too.
Those have gone out of control.
Yes.
But they're old. I mean, the original designs were fine 10 years ago, and now they're stuck to each other age.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of new replacements, but the old stuff's still there.
Yeah.
So with no further ado, let's talk about the top 10 things to kill from Java.
And sure, that way they have enemies, because you can always ask for more.
That's right.
Yeah, but people wanted us to be more controversial. So, incidentally, for the time we were throwing the idea around. That's okay.
You'll go.
Like, do you have any like
That was the other option for the slide deck. So people saw this already. How many people want calendar and date to just die?
You know, the definition of hell is working with dates in Java, JDBC, and Oracle all at the same time. Every single one of them screwed them up.
How many people have this issue? There's another list, Java utility.
Yeah.
All right. Let's just go clean that up. Let's get in there and get a shovel, dig out all the old stuff.
I'm actually curious, has anyone here used the AWT components button list? Now, see, we can, oh, we have one here.
Yeah, we do have
I'm sorry, but we're going to take it out.
You guys can have your own little group that you need to talk about.
It's all open source, so they can build their own little module.
So this one's a little more controversial. I keep trumping we've done the component all wrong, let's do it right. That's maybe a candidate for a Java 3. But Java.themes is a lot of the old patterns and things where the notion of component was just a pattern you could observe if you wanted to. I'd like to shoot that in the head and put it in the language. All right, look and feels. I'm sorry if you're a swing team member, but bad that. Look and feels made swing that closed library. So if you wanted to create your own component that played along the swing, well, you can't if you're using look and feels at all. So that's done.
Just explain to me, how can I, if I want to have a custom component, how can I have that look Mac-like on the Mac and Windows-like on Windows?
So you can do it if look and feel is done as a library to ask questions about, like, what do the edges look like, what do the backgrounds look like, what do the borders look like, so it gives you little utilities. The way
And
it's
painters to
implemented-
paint parts of
Yeah,
things.
exactly.
Painting the internal parts of particular control, so you can use them as you're painting them.
If you set up the component library, so pipeline painting system, you can call into a look and feel to ask questions like, okay, I need to do the edge of something or about something. The way it is done now is you have to create a button painter that knows specifically about the button component, and the look and feel provides a painter for each one of the components it knows about. But if you're some third-party component, forget it. The look and feel is not going to know about it. So it's been designed as a closed library, which kind of kills the whole, that. Kills that. All right. 4.
Okay. I hate the fact that the close method throws an IO exception. So I'm doing IO code in Java, and I have a try block, and I think in the catch, I definitely want to call close. But at that point, I get another compilation error because close itself was a thrown exception, so I have a nested try catch block. That's just stupid. I mean, what can I really do? What can I do in that close call anyway?
It did close, I better
Close it. Just let the variable run us go.
Oh, well, you can always do a system exit.
That's right. System exit works.
Okay, Java IO file. I think the name is really the whole problem there. I think a lot of people think it's a file. It's really not. It's a path. It's just a path manipulator. And I think the name is really confusing.
Right.
And
That'll be fixed.
in the next one,
That'll be fixed soon.
the next one's similar. The next one sounds like it's just about a URL. It's just like file is about a file. But this one actually has networking stuff in it, which it shouldn't. So I think the two of those.
Different patterns. Those two people needed to sit closer to each other and talk a little bit.
Clonable. Now, has anyone here tried to use clonable?
Once.
Once. Did it succeed? No.
Did anyone try to use it twice?
So clonable is it's just well, basically embarrassing. Yeah, I think we should do that.
Where the heck is clonable.com?
Yeah, if we were to actually put a clone method in there, it could be useful. But the way it is now, there's a protected method that basically gives you nothing on object. So, and binary serialization is another one of those things that I think we just got to kill.
Yeah, it's got to go.
Swap.
It's great for things like RMI calls, when you have total control over the VM on both sides. But if you're doing anything having to do with persistence, where time will pass between read and write, or write and read.
There's somebody else who's working on the code that's on the other end. That's their code.
Yeah. So serialization is good. Do you have more?
Okay, you're on the top 10 list.
We got
How many people are using Java util stack? Anyone? Anyone here? Okay, who knew that it existed? Okay, not many people. See, the problem with that is that it's not a very good class. There is a really good stack implementation in Java 6, and it's called a deque. D-E-Q-U-E. And this class just sits there and takes the perfect name away from the deque. And that's why I want to kill it and then squatting deque.
It's a squatting class.
It's like cyber grab your domain name.
Yeah.
I was there. Hash table, another one of those things that is just old. It's one of the Java 1.0 things. Everyone today, I think, would use hash map, I guess.
Just have this visual of this Java classes old photozone where you go in there and there's all these old classes like hash tables, playing checkers.
Enumeration.
Same deal.
Yeah, it's just annoying. I mean, I could choose not to use it. The problem is some APIs are still giving me enumerations, and you have to deal with them. And so we should just yank that all out and replace it with the modern APIs. Another pet peeve would be the object classes, or even lists or date. So there's something in Corba called object, right? Yeah, Corba. Incidentally,
It has power.
we talked about this in the podcast, but in Java 6, we've actually started formalizing the process of ripping stuff out of the platform. And the only candidate that they actually agreed on was me. And I think Corba was something they wanted to get rid of, and too many people screamed.
Well, get the module system done.
Yeah,
And then it doesn't have to be there, but gets that activated if it's used. Oh, we're changing topics. Okay. But it's also on a negative note. I don't know why we got on negative. I mean, we're really happy people, but this is fun.
So we should probably chase through these because I want to get some, we've got a prime opportunity to get feedback.
Alright, okay.
Let's bolt through.
Don't mix that.
Industry pet peeve.
Okay, so this is my non-invented here. Please have a look at the standards first, see if they'll do what you want. If they don't work, great. If they do, superb. But, I've seen so many cases where people end up maintaining huge legacy libraries that they've written themselves, and the rest of the industry moves on with stuff and technology from 40 years ago.
You're starting a new project, go look at the standards before you start coding anything.
Developers who believe they have nothing left to learn.
We should just check. Does anybody here feel like they have nothing left to learn?
Well, they're not coming to us.
Yeah, me. They also tend to not pay attention, so.
All right, yeah. IDE zealots. So I'm not too bad.
I'm the right audience.
I'm an IDE agnostic.
IDE sluts.
Okay.
Well, we have to explain this. There's an IDE slut and there's an IDE board. Dick doesn't get paid for all the IDEs he uses, so.
So anytime I demonstrate something in an IDE of the several that I use, somebody invariably comes up and tries to convert me back to the one true religion. And yeah, it's...